Hanwepi, Nyi K'omi Higaniki, Jiweri Nutachiniki, Tunampi Hakirajeki, Edmund Ida Haminiki. I'm Kennetha Greenwood, and I just greeted you and introduced myself in Otoe Missouria. I said I'm called Nyi K'omi. Nyi is water. K'o is the sound the water makes when it hits the rocks. And I was given this name by my great-grandmother when I was about 7. And it translates into roaring water. And she said I was like water that made my own path. So she thought that name was appropriate for me. And I said I'm Otoe Missouria, and I'm Bear Clan, and I live in Edmond, Oklahoma. And today I'm going to share a little bit history about our tribe, some different facts that you may not know about the Otoe Missouria. So the Otoe Missouria is a very progressive tribe. Not only today, but we have been the first in many historic accomplishments and events. For example, we were the first tribe to have our own tribal flag song, and this is our version of the national anthem, and it's treated with the same respect. And it was made to honor the United States flag, and it was composed by a woman, Nanny Childs Alley. She wanted to honor not only our Otoe Missouria veterans, but also Indian veterans that went off and fought for our freedom even before we were made citizens of the United States. We were also the first tribe to have our own War Mothers chapter. It was officially chartered on September 30th, 1943, and it was started by 11 Otoe Missouria women whose sons were going off to war, and they wanted to be able to support their sons and other veterans as well. We also had the first Native American to serve as president of the National War Mothers chapter, and her name was Lorena Kahika-Deroyne. But today I'm going to share with you an important historic event that took place with the Otoe people. The Otoe Missouria tribe was the first tribe to meet with Lewis and Clark on the Corps of Discovery, and it began when Thomas Jefferson made the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. He doubled the size of the United States by purchasing land where Indians of that area already had made their home and nurtured and cultivated it for as long as they could remember. And in the spring of 1804, Lewis and Clark set out on a voyage launched by President Jefferson to establish sovereignty of the United States over the tribes and to make relationships with the Indians, as well as, in his words, impress the power of their new white father in Washington. They headed up the Missouri River on May 14th, and by August, the Corps still hadn't come across any Indians. What they didn't realize is that the tribes were away from their regular camps and hunting buffalo for provisions for the winter. So in late July, the Corps set up a camp, and on August 2nd, the Otoe Missouria actually came upon them and greeted them with watermelons as a gift. So Lewis and Clark set up a meeting for the next day, making the Otoe Missouria the first tribe to hold council with Lewis and Clark at a place called Council Bluffs, and this was near Sioux City, Nebraska. And the meeting on August 3rd was actually the first of 2 meetings because Big Horse had stepped in his older brother's place and without his knowledge, and he accepted the peace medal from Lewis and Clark as a gift. So this was out of protocol for them, so as punishment he was forced to walk naked to the second meeting, and the official council was held on August 18th with the rightful headman Little Thief. To commemorate this meeting, there's a sculpture there representing Lewis and Clark and the Otoe Missouria tribe. As in the artwork, they're handing us the peace medal, and this is actually the peace medal, a replica of the peace medal that they were given. It has the hand shaking on one side and Thomas Jefferson on the other side, and this one belonged to my grandmother. So this represents that exchange between Lewis and Clark and the Otoe Missouria people. But there's a sculpture there in that place, and that was created by Dene artist Orland Joe, and a couple of our tribal members actually modeled for that, for the Otoe Missouria part of that. And we also have our own replica in Newkirk, which was created by the same artist. During this meeting, Lewis and Clark presented the tribe with gifts, and also certificates signed by them and President Jefferson. And these documents were preserved through the years with 2 of our Otoe Missouria families. They knew these documents were of importance, promising peace and friendship between 2 nations. And they preserved them through harsh weather, warfare, and even removal from their homelands, and handed them down through generations. So the letter from Thomas Jefferson was presented to the ancestor of the Kennetha family, and their family preserved the letter for over 120 years until it was donated to the Oklahoma Historical Society in 1928. And then a certificate of friendship was presented to Big Axe, whom I'm a direct descendant of. And as a young girl, my great-grandmother Madge would take the papers out of the cedar chest and show them to my mom and say, these are your grandpa's important papers. But she didn't actually know what they were at that time. So, and her grandpa was Chief Ralph Dent. And it was only after my grandmother Rhoda Compton passed away that my mother got back into my great-grandmother's trunk and came across those papers again. So it was at that time she realized of what importance they were, and they were taking a good look at them and saw the signatures and things like that on them. And the paper was old and it was brittle, but it was still in a good condition. But it was an amazing feeling for her to hold this piece of history in her hands that related back to our ancestors. So this document remained with our family until 2004, until my mother Joanne Aidson and my uncle Joe Dent donated it to the Oklahoma History Center to ensure the preservation of it, and so that our family and future generations of the Otoe Missouria tribe can go and see these documents and know their history. So if you'd like more information on any of the Lewis and Clark and the Otoe Missouris, you can search it on YouTube, and it's The Otoes Meet Lewis and Clark by Wide Awake Films. Warikro Kiki.